Okay, here we go with one of our reviews that we're going to be posting this week. This is your quiz that you took last week. Some of you really struggled. And the problem is that some of you really struggled is because you couldn't follow directions. This is why I am such a stickler on homework, and I always will be. You can't just type an answer and expect to get credit. Right here in the directions that the head of the math department wrote, not me. She wrote, solve the inequality and tell whether it has infinitely many solutions or no solutions. Type your work and answer in the text box. So if you just type something like no solution, at most, you get 1 point out of 4. At most, 1 point out of 4. Let's do it for real. First things first, you need to take the absolute value. So this is how we do this. You need to do this on your test this week. Okay. One of the things that's going to hold you up here is this inequality thing. Good job to people that just wrote it out. If you couldn't find how to do that, they just wrote it out. There's a math equation button. You click here. It says create a math equation. And now come up here, change this from scientific to relationships. And now you have your less than or equal to's, your greater than or equal to's. Okay. So we could do this problem. So first thing I have to do, you can see it's still over here, kind of faded off onto the left. Need to do my distributive property. So if I do the distributive property, I end up with negative 6x minus 4. Then I put in my inequality, and this part just drops down. Negative 6x minus 4. Save equation. There it is. Go to the next line. What is the next line that we are going to do? Well, first thing that we always do when we have a variable on both sides is that we try to get them on both sides. So now what I need to do is I need to add 6x to both sides. So whenever we do that, one of your properties, this inequality property, okay, so we are using the addition property of equality. So it's separated by an equal sign. So I'm adding 6x to both sides. When I do that, now I have to go back to my equation editor. When I add 6x to both sides, they're going to cancel. And maybe you have to sit here with a piece of paper and do this on the side first and then copy and type down what you have. You gotta have a system that works for you. So now I am going to type in my negatives. That's a subtraction sign there. So that doesn't help me. So I had to go back to my scientific calculator probably. And we look for our negative sign. Right here it says plus or minus. So I do plus or minus. No, and that's not it. All right, so we'll make this easy. So let's just stick here on the relationships tab here. So remember I brought my calculator, changed it from scientific to relationships, and we'll just use the minus. That'll work. So what's less? I have negative 4. And then I have my inequality, negative 4. And I hit save. So now I've gotten my variables to one side, but they disappear. When that happens, now here's where I answer the question. It says solve each inequality, tell whether it has infinitely many solutions or no solutions, type your work and answer into the text box. There are infinitely many solutions because negative 4 is always greater than or equal to negative 4. So I just type that in, and your keyboard has a negative sign, or you can use your minus sign. Go to my next question. So I'm going to go quicker on this one. We'll probably pause the video a few times to skip some lines. So my first line here says solve each inequality, tell whether there's infinitely many or no solutions. Type your work and answer in the text box. First things first, here I have to combine my 10x and my 7x. So we pull up our equation editor, change this to relationships. I have 3x because I combined the 10 and the negative 7x. Okay, those x's combine to get 3x minus 10. Still have this here. Now on this side I have 3x minus 2. Save that equation. Okay. Now I need to get my x's to the same side. So I subtract 3x from both sides using my subtraction property of equality. But when I do that, that leaves me, going back to my equation editor, that leaves me with negative 10 being greater than negative 2. Okay, this over here. So when is negative 10 a bigger number than negative 2? Well, it's further left on the number line. So you could say negative 10 is not bigger than negative 2. And therefore, there are no solutions. So I typed my work and I answered the question in the text box. Number 15. This one was a little tricky and I accepted multiple answers. It says you start with at least $52 in your checking account and then you deposit $27 each week. Rate inequality. Describe how much money you have M after W weeks. So we know we have at least $52, so we'll just write that. And then we'll have to do it in the text editor because we need our greater than sign. So you start with $52 and then we are adding $27 and we're adding $27 per week. You can just type in the W. Okay, and now I'm back on my relationships thing here. And that's going to be, in this case, really, you could have put an equal sign. I did accept that. But eventually, we're going to be using a greater than or equal to sign. So I did that. And it said in your question, how much money you have M after W weeks. That's why I use those variables. So there is my first equation. So I satisfied this part of the question. Write an inequality to describe how much money you have after M weeks. Now it says if you do this for 11 weeks. So I have to do 52 plus 27. And this is one of the many ways I could do this, times 11. I could also just do my one symbol that I don't have on my keyboard. 52 plus 27 times 11. Would you have enough money to buy a bicycle? It's $340. So then I do on my calculator, and 27 times 11, I have to do that first. I believe there was 270 plus 27, 297. 52, you end up with 349 being greater than. So I can come back in here, pull up the sign, greater than 340. So if you do this for 11 weeks, will you have enough money? Yes, you will have enough money to buy the bike. This is a 4-point problem. 1 point for writing this equation, 1 point for showing this step, 1 point for your final answer, 1 point here. I don't have spell check on. Last question from your quiz. French Club's sponsoring a bake sale. Their goal is to raise at least $140. How many pastries must they sell? $3.50 each in order to meet their goal. So it is $3.50 per, which is going to be multiply, per pastry. Right? And to meet their goal, they want to get at least $140. So that includes $140. So they want to have greater than or equal to 140. So again, I'm just using the inequality off my equation editor. Of course, I can also bring it up and type the whole thing. 350p greater than or equal to 140. Notice their font's a little different. It does not matter. Pick one. Okay, so now I have to divide each side by by 3.5. Right? Because it says how many pastries must you sell? So we're solving for P. So I divide, there's my division symbol. I'm going to divide each side by 3.5. Divide each side by 3.5. I also have some people that just do the following. They write divide each side by 3.5. Either of these is acceptable. $140 divided by 3.5. Take your calculator. 40 divided by 3.5. And you get P. I'd like to use our equation editor one more time. Greater than or equal to 40. Oh. So the goal is to raise at least $140. How many pastries must they sell? So now you answer the question. Type your work in the text box. We did that. They must sell at least 40 pastries. So did I do everything up here? You always go back and check. Some of you guys aren't doing that. It says write and solve an inequality. Wrote the inequality. Whoops. Double clicked on it. Solved it. Did it again. Solved it. And then answered the question. How many pastries must they sell? They must sell at least 140. So this was on your quiz. This was 12 of the 28 points, 4 problems. When you take your test Friday, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to start with 15 of these. It's going to circle back to the beginning of the chapter. We have to show your work like this in the text box. So if you don't watch this video completely, you might want to watch it a couple times. Then you're probably going to miss some points on Friday, and we don't want that to happen. Have a good day.